It is a challenge for all human beings to go out in the world, to present themselves, to figure things out, to face the unknown and live through it. You can't tell them what that adult is going to smell like. You can't tell them how to get their own shoes on real. You can practice, but how it's going to feel, it's going to, the temperatures are going to be different. Like baseline, this is the level of stimulus at a good preschool with a good teacher, with a kid who's pretty confident. Like it's this level of newness.
Beloved people, welcome. We're so excited to have you. My name is Jessica Hover. My friends call me Jess, and this is...
I'm Layne Dealing-Sherland, and this is Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club.
Today's episode is all about...
We're going to talk about starting preschool.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we have covered this topic a couple of times in a couple of ways, and I will link everything we've ever said in our whole lives about this below, including a YouTube video that we did on Jessica's channel very, very, very early on. I have absolutely no recollection of what I said in that video. Because it was so early in filming podcasts.
Totally.
That we did a YouTube video at the end of a day where we had filmed several podcasts. And I genuinely have this like disassociative memory of it, of being like so not used to talking for so long. And just being like,
was it about preschool?
Stuff came out.
Oh, wow.
It was like,
I forgot
it was
about
like,
that.
I don't know, like tips for when you're toddler something.
Nice.
So today, I think it's possible that we'll revisit this every year of our lives forever because it just is so recurring for you all. And the lifespan of a preschooler is so brief that like you have a baby and then suddenly they're going to preschool, and you have a preschooler and then suddenly they're gone and your next one is right. It's like the turnover is so quick that it stays so fresh.
I know.
But I'm going to do a little bit of a different take on it today.
So I asked Layne to do this, even though the other content she's put out about preschool stuff is really, really excellent and pretty full. But we keep being asked about this, and it's because of exactly what you're describing. These moms of babies are suddenly like, hold on, preschool, what the heck? So there's one episode that she already did, which was very helpful when it comes to like choosing the proper school for your kid and which setting would be great for them. So I recommend it if you're in the stage where you don't yet know where they should be going. This episode, we're going to be talking about...
we're going to assume that you feel happy with whatever care center you've chosen for your child. We're not going to get into that at all. But again, I will link the episode about childcare and childcare choices down below. Today, I want to talk about it. I want it to be a very like empathetic, almost empathic episode about like your child starting preschool from their perspective. Like I want to kind of drop you into the mindset of like, what is this little person going to go through? Because you're just on the outside, looking down at them, trying to think about sending them. But then also once they're gone, like once you've sent them, you're not there all day, right? Like they come to me and you leave. And then I spend their whole day with them at preschool. So like I know what's happening at preschool and I can tell you about it, but you can't really be there. So I just want to like take from sort of that lens and try to like look through the little eyes of these little people, headed out on their own to be their own person for the very first time. Almost ever.
Awesome.
So that's what we'll do.
Great.
The firstness of this feels really salient to me. Like I want to lean really heavily for you in the feeling of you guys conceptually as adults know what it is to be alive, be a human, go to school, come home from school, live a life. But for a toddler, they don't know anything, like any one thing about any one thing. These are people who are so fresh. And because we have a concept of what a toddler is, and ostensibly, according to photos, we were one once, like it's so easy to forget what kind of fresh little consciousness they are in there. And then especially like sometimes you can remember that about a baby, but then once a little person starts talking, we kind of credit them with way more ability to be like thinking and knowing and remembering and projecting than is reasonable for the age group at all. So remembering that for your 2-year-old, they've like just really realized that a self exists. There's a me here, and those others are not me. There's me and there's not me in the world, where like your little baby was just such a more contiguous worldview of like all that is, and I'm everything. But like your 2-year-old is like, okay, there's somebody here, and now they're super interested in their own self, this own somebody, what effect it has on the world, but not very interested in other people except for as something to explore and test along with everything else in their environment. It's not like that's like a me, but over there them. Like they don't do that part yet. Now your 3-year-old, that's the piece that they are just starting to do, assuming that it's mostly 2, 3, 4-year-olds that are launching into this right now. So this 3-year-old has like got a sense of like, I'm here, I'm me. And then they've started to put together like, this is what I'm like. I'm funny. I'm pretty. People like my clothes. People think I'm fast. These are my fastest shoes. I'm the one who can climb really high. I'm the one who draws beautiful pictures. I'm the one who's like, adults have started to say these attributes about them, and they've started to prove some things, true or false, to themselves about themselves. They've built more of an identity rather than just like I'm here. What can it me do? There's a lot more of like, this is my name. Maybe I memorized my phone number. I have a middle name. Is like a whoa. I have more names than just the name you call me. Even I could write my name down. There are some letter symbols that are starting to be identified with me. There's like, I could make this mark and it means me, like some of that stuff. And at that point, this 3-year-old into 4-year-old space, they're fascinated by that other person. It's dawned on them that like, as there is me, there is you. And what are you like? And all of those things about the self, they now want to know all of that about everybody else. And how do we interact? And what can we do together? How can we collaborate? How can we be rivals? Like the highs and lows of all that kind of stuff. These are the kinds of little minds and egos and consciousnesses existing inside of a preschool space. For them, it's just that. There's no larger view. There's no even understanding that like school is forever. You know, or what school is for, what's the purpose of it. Like none of that exists. They're just dropped down into their own little perspective. And those are some of the parameters of their perspective. So this
so cute.
This thing of going to school, it's so cute. And also it's like so sacred and powerful and cool. And it's like spiritual in the most fundamental way that a thing could be spiritual, right? Any kind of view of one's own self and then turning those eyes onto like another. Oh God, it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
That's so cool.
They're so cool. But this is the first chance to like be that person out in the world away from you. Maybe they've done this in little small ways. They've spent the night at grandma's house, or maybe they go to the childcare at the gym, or maybe at a church, or like there are kind of smaller pieces, or you guys have gone on vacation and someone has stayed with them, or they've smaller chunks of it. But this experience of there's now a secondary place that I go that belongs to me and kind of not you, Mom. This is not the place for you. This is the place for me. And it's designed at my height, and I'm welcomed here. And my little name is over the hook from my backpack. And our family photo is in the families section. Like I'm there. I belong here. This is for me. And you go. And now I just contend with the world as just me. And they're that secure base of parent where ideally a tiny, tiny child goes out into the world attached to you and then goes and explores and then comes back to this secure base of you, comes all the way back in. If you can hear that, it's hands really pressed together, and they explore from you and come back and explore from you and come back. But like, this is the opportunity to take that core secure base away, and it's really just them out there. And that
Am I allowed to say how scary?
Yes.
Like it sounds like when I'm picturing for the kids, I'm like, I mean, my kids are in preschool, so we've done this transition, but just like, is that scary for them?
Yes.
I feel like that must be a little frightening.
Yes. I want to be conveying like the gravity of the situation. You know, something could be gravely dangerous or heavily glorious, you know, but there's a real weight.
It's
to
weighted.
This. It's a profound opportunity, and it's really important, and it's for adults who are not sunk into this perspective, both on the teacher side and the parent side, you will find people in childcare centers who have been doing this. This is their 12th year and they do the thing in the way that they do it. And come on, kid, you're the 600th child in their classroom. And it's always fine. School is fine. So calm down, or the adult parent who's like,
missed the
you
weight
have
of it.
to go to childcare. Like,
this is what we do. You
pick
just
something
go.
that, look, there's toys here. You like toy. Like, it's easy to just be looking from the outside.
Make it small.
And accurately seeing, like, you're safe. There's toys here. This is a beautiful place. I'm paying $1,000 a day for you to be here. Like, everyone's thought about you. Like, you don't need to be losing your mind about this. But I want to add these heavy boots to the thing of, like, here comes this child, stomp, stomp, stomp into their life. Your home is your life and they're part of it. Even if you're a home that's really centers around a child, like, it's still so enveloped by you, but this is the first world that is not yours. It was created by some unknown thing and it's an unknown place and they just get to go in there and be themselves. Some of your children will be out of their mind excited to be a little bit rid of you and to be themselves.
Just have an adventure.
Yes. And to explore and just like, whoa, like, here I am. And some of those will be a surprise to you. Some of your tinier, more timid children will be like, wow.
Yeah.
Look at me out here. They will draw immediate esteem, like deep self-esteem from the feeling of being out and being away from you. They thought they would die if you ever walked away from them, and then you did, and they're still here, and yay. And some of your more forceful children are actually like, feel really important that you're there to push up against all the time. And when you're not there to push up against, they do not like it. Like, there's a huge array of ways that your kids will respond to this. But for all of them, this is the opportunity to go be them in the world.
And for you, mom or dad, who are dropping your child off, you don't have to overthink their way. If they run from you and forget to say goodbye, you don't have to overthink that of like, oh my gosh, is this because I'm not good at this? And like, finally they found the environment where it's good, or, whatever it is. You can just be in this moment and like, okay, cool. We're doing the thing. And you're going to say it. I don't want to say it from you. This is their first something. What is it, Layne?
It is their first opportunity to be themselves in the world. And it is their first hard thing. It's their first opportunity to do a thing that's actually hard for most of them. Yes. Occasionally, some of you, very limited number of you, your 2 and 3 and 4-year-old have gone through something really challenging.
Sure.
And mostly not. Most of them have had pretty stinking cushy little lives with their stinking cushy sweet mama, and so it is a challenge for all human beings to go out in the world, to present themselves, to figure things out, to face the unknown and live through it.
Totally.
And lose all of your old kinds of comfort and maybe find a new comfort, and also maybe go to a place that actually don't like it. Nope, don't like it. Don't like the smells. Don't like what happens. Not my favorite. And all of those people still get to do it, whether it feels good, whether it feels bad. And we'll talk a lot more about that. But it is actually hard. What they're doing is actually hard.
And that's important because it's also going to be hard for you in a number of different ways. And some of it is hard for you because you're sad, you're scared, you're like, you miss them, you're overthinking it, whatever it is. In the moment, the focus needs to be on them successfully getting through the door and doing a thing. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more later, but usually that handoff involves some sort of friction or tension or tears or something. And your focus is getting them in there and not worrying too much about all your own. Call us with your own feelings about your own parenting, but like focusing in on this is their first hard thing. So how do we set them up to do it? And then come to us to process all of your feelings about your transition, because this is also a hard thing for you. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. But also wanting to reframe even the hardness of it as it is okay for your child to experience it is essential for your child to experience challenges in life that are reasonable and that they can move through in a positive way. It is essential. It is the only way to build a positive concept of self, is to do things that we find challenging and discover that we are in fact able. It feels so good to do a thing that's so hard and come out on the other side being like, I can do that. Look what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Like we must prove ourselves to ourselves in order to be people who can
feels
move
good
in the world.
To get your kid into preschool. I had that feeling where I was like, what a grown up. I found a school and got them in. And so then if that's true for us as grown people, that's so true. Yeah. It starts when they're little and they do the hard thing. And as long as you feel great about the place you're dropping them off, great about the person you're handing them to, all the other big emotions that happen in there, you're just trying to manage your own and then do the handoff. I'm sure you'll tell us like how to do it. But like make it as smooth as it can be. And then you get on your merry way and then tell us how it went.
And tell us how it went. Yeah. So just to even like deeper into the sensory experience, I'm 3. I've got new clothes. I hate new clothes. I only like clothes that I already know about.
Right.
I only like things that are soft. I only like things that already smell like me. I only like, right? I got all new clothes. I probably got new shoes. My little feet grew over the summer, so I have to figure out how to put my shoes on. Yeah. You made me do my hair. My face is clean. I got new backpack, which is pretty exciting, hard to carry.
My preschool didn't even let them bring their backpacks in though. Imagine.
Where do their backpacks go?
Home with me.
You unload a backpack?
They didn't need them. No, we didn't realize that the school, they didn't want the kids to have anything extra, even stuffies, like stuffed animals.
What about when they pee their pants?
No, they had like an extra thing that they put in a bin. So you had to bring like the extra change.
Okay. Where does their water bottle go?
They didn't have water bottles. They provided cups. Yeah.
Well,
but
I got a thing to learn.
Is, I didn't ask all these questions. So imagine
so you bought Paw Patrol backpacks and we're like, take your super cool
construction truck for Wilson, who's obsessed, gets there and he has to hand us back the backpack. And I'm like, tough. Ma'am. No, actually, I didn't even do the drop off. I couldn't handle it. Sure. Sean did it. It was too much. Wilson and I would have been held. No, because I did it with Eloise and we were both sobbing. Lesson learned. They were like, it actually might be easier if it's dad.
Sometimes.
Like, okay.
Sometimes.
It was.
Okay. Well, anyways, some of us have new backpacks.
My kids' backpacks still look brand new. So that's good.
Yeah.
We'll use
sure you can use them next time. Pull-ups or undies. Maybe you got fast potty trained because the school doesn't accept, or the school only wants this kind of pull-up or whatever. Like whatever's under your clothes might also be different. Freaking sunscreen. Did your mom put sunscreen on you to make you go, you're slimy? Sunscreen smells weird. Or this other lady's going to put sunscreen that your mom brought? Like what?
Yeah. And who's
crazy
this lady?
Yeah. So all new your own stuff, right? The normal stuff that you're identifying as what goes on your body is totally different a lot of the time. Because your mom thinks you need to look really cute to go to preschool.
They're taking a
and
picture
you're like,
outside
I don't need to look cute ever.
I am cute already.
I am cute. How dare you suggest? Brand new place, brand new smells, you guys. All new sounds. Like the sound of the air conditioner in the classroom is different from whatever is in your house. Everything looks different. If you are 2 and 3 and early 4, you have no ability to hold a mental map of a space in your mind. Each thing that you see is the thing that cues you to the next thing. So your child is like navigating your house via being like, I know that after this hallway comes that thing. Like the thing that you see brings up the next thing. They don't hold a whole picture of your home in their mind. Like,
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're in a brand new place, you deeply don't know where you are.
Right.
Like there's no familiar visual to tell you what comes after that visual. And it's the same with the routine, right? So like you're a little tiny person. Again, you don't know anything. If you can't see the kitchen, will you ever eat again? You don't know. Like you don't know for sure.
Right. Even to say like the school is close to the house. If they can't see the house, they don't really know what's
what's close. I'm close to you currently because I can touch you.
Like we're not that close because the door's closed and I can't see you guys.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So really new place, really new people who are totally unproven. Totally unproven. Who knows what this grown up is going to be like? Right. They don't like at all. Emotionally and relationally, like how is this other adult going to respond to me in these ways? That adult's feelings are totally unfamiliar to them, even in the vibey way that I'm always describing of them scanning. And like, your child behaves in a certain way because they've trained themselves off of your responses. So they're predictably looking for an outcome they can predict. So they offer you this thing and try to get the what they need out of you.
Right.
But this other person is going to respond totally differently to these very gentle, subtle cues. Totally new learning with this adult. And these are children who know that they cannot keep themselves alive. They feel it in their bones.
Right.
So like it's a big deal that they don't know for sure how to get what they need out of this unproven person. And also see all the above things. The smells. Does that person have sunscreen on? What do their clothes feel like? What does their body feel like when they hold you? Squish in a different way than your mom? Are they strong and toned? And like, is the feeling of it weird? What does their voice sound like? Do they chew gum in a way that's like really loud for your little, all of the sensory experience of new people is like, whoa, so much to process. So much to process.
Yeah,
I'm overwhelming myself. Yep. Routine, rely on the thing that came before for the next thing. So like how does a day unfold? Like they use the thing that came before to predict what the next thing is going to be. So they're in a they have nothing.
Trapped in a new place with nothing.
Bananas.
Even though they have everything and they're safe and you are happy. To them, that's what it's going to feel like. So it sounds like a lot of reassurance is coming.
Yeah. Yes, but also just a lot of experiencing. Like this is kind of a baseline, this level of knowing nothing. Like you can't tell them what that adult is going to smell like. You can't tell them how to get their own shoes on real. You can practice, but how it's going to feel. It's going to the temperatures are going to be different. Like baseline, this is the level of stimulus at a good preschool with a good teacher, with a kid who's pretty confident. Like it's this level of newness. And then in their classroom, there will be 8 to 12 other people who are all having that same experience.
Wow.
So like the energy flowing there is very tenuous, right? Everything that you would do to get your bearings, like look around and see if other people are okay. A lot of these other people also do not know if they're okay. So when you go into the first day of preschool and there's this feeling of a little bit of like a cold kind of buzzing in the air.
Lots of people crying.
Yeah, and lots of people crying. So like the vision, to get real practical about it, you're going to go, I mean, some children in your class will have been in childcare for a long time, probably even been in that care center for a while. So it will not feel that. A lot of them will have come out of summer school and just moved across the hall. So there will be children there who seem totally comfortable. There will be parents there who this is their third child that's been through this school. They're very comfortable with this adult. Those people will be calm. It may alarm you that other people feel more calm than you. Do not be alarmed. It's actually a very good sign.
We need them.
That there are people in that space who can lend you some of their confidence in that space.
Totally.
But also, there will be other children crying. And where children cry, there is snot, right? You will see mucus on the first day of preschool. Do not be alarmed.
Yeah.
They're crying.
Sometimes our kids wouldn't be crying and then they would see someone cry and then they would start crying. It's like, oh yeah, this does feel really new and unfamiliar.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And it makes a ton of sense as the adult from the other side looking at you that any sense of I know this is what your child is doing, and I know that you feel the gravity of this. Most of you are feeling the intensity of this, even if you have not thought it through at this granular kind of level.
Yeah.
It is not alarming to me that there is crying in my classroom on the first day.
As the teacher, you're not alarmed. Oh, that's so good.
It is very normal. And there you will encounter teachers with more and less experience and greater and lower tolerance for emotional challenges.
Sure.
I'm a very good preschool teacher, if I may. And I think that people who feel confident and clear on what they're doing in there should be an understanding of like, I'd like to translate to you all an understanding of why there may be some crying inside of a classroom.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It means that this is the level of intensity in what we're doing. It's challenging.
Yeah.
Minimally, it's pretty overwhelming. And I often cry when overwhelmed. I think that's a very appropriate response to be like, whoa, hang on.
So much.
I don't know about this. Please may I go back into the space that feels way better for me, that I already know about, where my favorite person in the world is. I think it's really okay that you take your child into a new space with a new adult, even somebody who's great and going to take really good care of them and they're going to love me in like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
That they would say, no, thank you. I'll have my mom instead. Like that's very okay. And if your child is like, no, really, mom, please, via their tears and their crying. I would much prefer to be with you. That's still okay. Mm-hmm. They're allowed to prefer their home and to prefer their mother or their father to stranger and new place, even if stranger and new place are net positive and spaces and people that they're going to super love. Like, that's not a baseline problem that they'd rather be with you. It's actually wonderful.
Okay. So for the mom listening who's like, holy crap, Layne, I am already so scared of this transition. Listening to all of this so far, I'm thinking maybe I should keep them home until kindergarten. How long, I know we're going to get into so much more than this, but like, how long is that new kind of teary-eyed, oh my gosh, experience happening? Like, for a mom who's really afraid of that handoff experience and all of it, does it usually take a week, 3 weeks? Like, at what point do you find children being more comfortable? Because I listening to this, I would maybe be like, I have to turn it off. I can't do it. I won't be able to. Yeah. But we're talking as two people who totally know it gets better. My kids are in preschool. Right. We've done this. And those are my first one already did it. Now my younger two are in it. As the teacher, what do you see? How long does it stay this like, oh my goodness?
Really, really, really going to depend on your kid.
Totally.
Like, really going to depend. There's such a huge array of it. But I bring up the intensity of this not to add fear, but to really normalize a huge spectrum of emotions and responses from children. Yes. It is okay that it's hard to do a hard thing. Yes. It is okay that there's a reason behind what your child may or may not experience, what you as the adult may or may not experience. Like, this is what the thing is. And for a lot of children, it's today, and then tomorrow will be fine. And then day 3, they will be like,
so true.
Absolutely not.
They're like, I thought we did it.
Yeah.
You find that where they're like, no, we did preschool.
We did school. You said I was going to school, and then I went to school.
That's so real.
And day 3 is like a hang on now.
Why am I going back here?
That this is still going to happen. Day 3 can be really challenging.
I forgot about that. That happened to us. Yeah. We had like a whole week of like, oh, he's doing great. And then the next week he's like, why am I still going here? I did great. It was horrible. And then he overcame, and now he's great.
Right. And then you settle into the feeling of like, okay, this is my life now. Yes. You accept, a tiny child will accept, this is my life now.
So good that you brought that up.
And then be able to settle all the way in. How frequently your child is going to school is going to make a big difference sometimes for like whether, if a child's not really is not enjoying the idea of let's keep going to school. If that's only happening 2 times a week, you could reasonably expect it to take them a while to like really deal with the feeling of like, okay, because if you're going to school on Tuesday and Thursday, that means you go on Tuesday, you don't go on Wednesday, you go again on Thursday, you don't go on Friday, you don't go on Saturday, you don't go on Sunday, and you don't go on Monday. Like, it's rhythmic in our minds, but really
for them, it's not.
2 days on, 4 days off is like, it could take a little while to settle straight into that
especially
feeling.
When you describe like they don't have these maps where they can see bigger picture.
Tuesday
like,
means nothing.
I go these days. To them, they're like, wait, so sometimes I go on this random day.
Sometimes I don't.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. That's really good.
That could take a little bit longer to settle in. I will tell you, I think that at a good care center, it should be totally fine however long it takes your child to settle in.
Have you ever had a kid never settle in?
No.
Okay.
I have had it take 3 whole months.
Okay.
3 whole months of 3 mornings a week.
Okay.
And that was a very particular child. Turned out to be someone who is like what they would call like an HSP, like a highly sensitive person kind of child.
Okay.
Really high sensory. His sensory experiences were super heightened. Not all the way to neurodivergence, but just like, this is a little tiny person who like you don't know about these kinds of things until you're a little bit later until a kid goes through experiences and you go, that's really interesting. This is the most I've ever had it. This is the longest duration I've ever had a little child cry ever. Yeah. We should chat with your pediatrician about this. They don't have to leave my school. This mom was like, he really cried a lot. She'd been asked to leave a daycare before because he cried so much. And I was like, oh, I'm never gonna I'm never gonna call you because your child is crying.
Right.
I'm going to hold your child while they cry. I will call you if they're ill. I will call you if there's a problem. But like the crying of your child is not it's not a problem for me. If your child feels tears, that's okay.
That's so sweet.
That's totally okay.
My friend's daughter is HSP, but they didn't know for a while. But there were so many tears during transitions. I didn't even know what it was until she found that out. But that's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So holding space for like your kid to probably be who they are, probably. If you have a little bit more of an anxious or a person who like really is clinging, probably you're going to have to convince them via your clarity and your consistency that in fact, yes, this is a thing that's going to keep happening in your life and we're going to keep experiencing that's actually quite good. I picked quite a good person. I picked quite a good place, and it may take us a while for you to come to agree with me that this is a good place for you. If your child is pretty adventurous or like feeling pretty confident or has spent a lot of time in other kinds of childcare settings or has a lot of other adults in life that they're a little more used to being like, could be my mom, could be this other person. Like you may find that that's a little easier. Yeah. And then some of your kids will totally surprise you. Usually the third-ish week of preschool is like pretty calm. Yeah. Cool. So pretty calm. There will still be a kid in your kid's class who's crying. Maybe your kid will be the kid in your kid's class who's still crying. Yeah. But for the most part, people have like, there's a good enough rhythm. They walk through the gate, they see the hooks where the backpack goes, they start to have those visuals that tell them what comes next. They see that adult usually takes them over here and they start to feel things that are a little more predictable. Their little feet get under them a little bit more, more used to the smell, more used to the sound. Yeah. The shoes have broken in, you know?
I can tell you that it didn't really help when I cried. Yeah. Like when Eloise cried and then I cried too. I was like, I think this made it worse, but the tears just fell out before I could catch them. But what did help is talking to the teacher at the end and saying like, could we talk a little bit about drop off and what I can do and what you can do? And what I needed on the mom end was like, could you be like even more forthright to say like, I've got you, everything's okay? Because there was one teacher that I was interacting with. There were two teachers in the classroom. One was super experienced. I think that was like her secret. Yeah. So she was able to come in with like all the reassurance in the world to my daughter. Yeah. And then it made me feel better, obviously. But even though Eloise was crying, it was very clear, like Eloise was safe here. We can do this. And then I would know she stopped crying like really soon after. This other teacher was very much like letting me be the leader, like, oh, you take your space, like whatever you guys need. But there was never going to be a handoff then until she was basically like pulled from me. And by that point, that's when my tears came. And so I guess I just say that because I've done this in ways that I look back and go like, ooh, that probably made it worse. Talk to the teacher because you guys have so much experience with so many children responding in these different ways. Right. I'm sure you have a way that is nicest, and you can even ask for like, as the mom, like, could you be even more outgoing to like take my little one and like just say to me like, she'll be safe. I'm going to take her now. I'll see you at this time, you know, something very clear. Yep. So then you can be on your way and then you could like go cry, you know, over there where the little one's not going to see you.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. So you are the only data point that your child really has in life, right? And you're about to not be there. So it makes sense that it's challenging. But what that means is that like your job is to give them as like good of data as you possibly can about the space that they're going into. We say all of the time that your confidence is their confidence. And this is like pinnacle moment for your confidence is their confidence, right? Like they're going in blank, they're going in blind. They don't really know that you've never been there before or done this before either. They don't have a reason to know why you might be nervous. They only know if you are or if you are not.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can walk into a space as though you feel comfortable there, well, let me back myself up. Your confidence is their confidence. So the first thing you have to do is make a decision. You need to know, yes, we are going to preschool. Because a lot of this protest that you're going to experience is to answer the question, like, do I really have to though? And do I really have to again? Like, is there some demonstration that I could give you, mom, that would mean that I don't have to go to preschool, that I can just go home to my favorite place with my favorite person? Yeah. So like the very first thing that needs to happen is that you have to have decided we are going to preschool generally, and we are going to preschool today. That's the piece that's not moving. Yeah. We're going to school.
Yeah.
That's all.
Even if in your head, you're like, what if this isn't the right place? You got to decide like, okay, I'm going to give it a month and a half. I'm going to give it a full 6 weeks or something.
So I'm asking you for 2 to 3.
2 to 3 months.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm saying that as the one who's been the mom of like, holy crap, I don't even know. But you go into it and you go, I do know. I'm going to give it 2 to 3 months because Miss Layne asked us to. We're going to try this out. If by the end of this 2 to 3 months, we decide we're going to pick a different preschool, Perfect. We did it. We're going to then decide.
Yeah.
But you got to be confident, even if inside you're actually not going to feel super confident because you've never done this before.
Right. Right.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Today is still within the span of time that we're trying this. Even if you're like, I could not possibly go for 2 to 3 months. I absolutely am only trying this for the next 5 weeks.
Sure.
Today is still within the window of that 5 weeks, right? Like you have already decided this is. So caveat, unless you discover something in your care center that feels unsafe to you, you feel an actual deep problem with an individual person or something that has not like, I don't know, I feel bad, but like, no, I know, I'm not happy with this person, or this policy makes me feel not safe here, or
or unless came home with bruises and like you hear of all kinds of crazy things. There's
you
clarity.
Feel very free to disregard this time span that I've given you if something comes up in your care center and you think this is not the right place for my child. But should we try out preschool in this good place? Set a span for yourself and definitely know today for sure. There's no amount of you crying right now that means you're coming home with me. Because if there is an amount of crying right now that means you're coming home with me, then that has to now be explored to its absolute limit. And you will be encountering someone who doesn't know for sure if they have to go to preschool after you tell them that they're going to school. And that's going to be super hard for you.
That's what I did. Because my mind was like, well, I guess technically I could watch her today.
Right.
But the whole point is like, no,
I could bring her home.
She's got to go.
She's got to go. Yeah. Yes. It will make more crying. It will make it sadder. It will make it feel more, the feeling of like, oh, maybe the thing I want might happen. Oh, the thing I want is not happening. That you add that feeling on top of that I have to go to preschool feeling. If maybe your child could tantrum their way out of or just cry their way out of. It's a lot.
Dang it's a lot. Layne, I wish I had you. I wish I had you back when Eloise was first going to preschool.
She's all right though.
She's fine.
She's doing great.
Just know, guys, that you're hearing from someone who knows what they're doing. I'm pointing at Layne and who's done it all wrong. But also we figured it out.
So
and now
hard.
I have 2 more kids in preschool, and I just sent Sean.
Yeah. I have so much first time mom, first time baby. Beautiful little baby with giant sad eyes. Oh my gosh, how could you? I feel such compassion and so no judgment about the tangle and the stickiness of what this is. But you lending confidence to your child, they have to borrow confidence from you because they have nothing to base it on. So they literally have to just like take some of yours.
So borrow your confidence from Layne and you'll be fine.
You can borrow some from me and they're going to borrow it from you. Make a choice, hold it.
Yeah, great.
Make a commitment unless ... right? And so, we're gonna go straight into drop-offs then, because you've decided you're driving to school. You guys have chatted about school. You've given it a light touch. You don't need to be like, school is gonna be amazing. Here's the 27 things that are gonna happen to you. But you've kept an eye on like, we're going to school today. I think it's gonna be great. You're gonna see this teacher. She's so lovely. I feel so good about her. We're gonna just do this fun. Here we go. You had some breakfast. Your Paw Patrol backpack is so fun. And off you go to school. Yes, we are going to school.
Yeah.
And you walk down the stairs and what you're going to do, because I don't know who's on the other side there. If it's me on the other side of the gate, then I'm going to let you come in. I'm going to chat with you. I'm going to say, do you guys want a couple of minutes to play? A lot of times a parent will come in and they'll play with some stuff or walk around or look at things, let a little person get a little bit oriented. Let me know when you guys are ready. Or if you're like, nope, I got to bail. Great. Then I'm going to ask you, Jess, is it okay if I take care of Eloise today? I would love to just be with her today until you come back. Is it okay if I'm in charge of Eloise and I take care of her? And you're going to say yes out loud, because then I get a tiny, tiny bit of your authority and your like mantle, right? The teeniest little bit I can take from you in front of your child who can hear it. That like these 2 adults have looked at each other and they've agreed about what's going to happen to me. And it will transfer a little bit to that teacher in a way that's very, very helpful. If you're not with a teacher who knows to do that, no problem. You can say, excuse me, Miss Layne, I'm ready to go to work. I was wondering if I could if you would take Eloise for me right now, and would you mind just taking care of Eloise till I come back today? And then that teacher can consent to that.
Right.
And you then are transferring that role. Like, you're going to be the one who takes care of her. And I'm going to come back. Or until her dad comes to get her later. Very helpful to like have those things if you can.
Yeah.
And then you do the handoff and you really put that child onto that other person's body and really get your body away. It's very tricky to do that peel thing.
Yeah.
It feels very insecure as the other adult who's trying to decide how to pull a child off of their parent, because if you don't know what that parent wants from you, you know, like you don't ever want to be a person who's trying to separate a parent and their child. It's crazy. And and you don't.
It feels like such a bad way to start you guys off together, you and the child.
But also, like I know that your child's going to feel better the second, like
as soon as you're gone,
4 minutes after you're gone maximum, like for most children, right? Some kids, really, really tricky transition, and it's going to be a little bit, and that's fine. But for the most part, like a little bit of protest as your adult leaves. You're a little child who got woken up to go to this place, and you'd rather have your adult there. Fine. Totally fine. But like, that's the stakes. It's just being like, oh, no, thank you. Is to me, they might as well be being like, no, thank you. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. No problem. Yeah. But to do that pull away thing when you don't know what that parent wants it's alarming. Even if I'm like, as soon as I get this person from you, you will go and be well, and they will be here and be well. So if you can be assertive about that transition as the adult, just like going to the other adult and saying, what I would like to happen is I would like to hand Eloise to you, and I would like you to be in charge of her until I come home. Very helpful. Or if you're like, I don't feel like I can do this today and I really need some help. Could you help her? Could you help get her off? Like you can ask for that.
Say that.
And I'm happy to help you do that.
I'm going to ask you for like some words.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my children was a runner and like would just run out of the classroom.
Yeah.
Sometimes the words we're like, what the heck are we supposed to say? Like, obviously we're saying like, I love you
to the child.
You do need to go to preschool.
Yeah.
Is that just it? Like, you're safe here. I love you. You got to go to here for the day. We're going to see you later. That's like all good and fair. Okay. Yeah. And then I'm going to go, and then teacher grabs and close the door.
Yes.
Keep
and
them
then
in.
close the door,
Okay.
keep them in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think that's fine. I would love it for them if they just like wanted to relax into the circumstance, but safety dictates that they must stay in this classroom. And if that needs to be a speedy transition, then it's allowed to be.
Cool. Okay.
Sometimes a child will allow you to plug them into an activity or a moment with a little bit more ease. And that can be helpful if you want to go into the classroom and say like, this is the thing that's available to you. Would you like to be here or here? Yeah. Would you like to play with these trucks, or would you like me to hand you to Miss Layne? Okay, I'll choose. It seems like you need extra snuggles, so I'm going to hand you to Miss Layne.
Cool.
You know, like, but keeping it really minimal. Their choices in a moment that is this heightened are pretty limited. It's not a good time for them to be in charge. They're not available to be taking care of themselves right now. It's just a little much. It's great. They're too small. So that like transfer of authority between adults really takes care of a lot of this, because it makes the teacher feel confident. You sound confident to the child, even if you're not. And like, you're laying out your own steps for yourself. You're telling yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. And then you just do the thing that you said. Yeah. You know, you can spend a lot of, depending on the center, go early enough that you can spend a lot of time in there, get them really settled if you want before doing this handoff. You can be a person who's like, says in the car as you're getting them out of the car seat, big fat kisses all over your face. I love you so much. I'm going to hand you off. I got to go to work. And then you drop them at the gate to the playground with that adult, and then you're out. Like, you can be that person if you want also. Like, I feel like you should feel a lot of freedom to, within the policies of the center, kind of decide what works best for you and your kid about that part. However, when you've done the drop off, when you have said, I'm going, you got to go. Like, you got to go visually. I don't care if you sit in the parking lot. I don't care if you sit in the administrator's office and just bawl your sweet, sweet, sweet eyes out. Kind of recommend it, actually, if you've got an administration that's loving and available to you. That can be really lovely. We had a lot of moms in the office often, but you got to get where your kid you need to be gone for them. And your face needs to not appear at the window in the door.
Honestly, I'm going to add, that's kind of a pro tip for even like leaving your kid with a babysitter, with a nanny, anybody in my life who does any sort of those rules for work. Their like easiest thing is if parents will just please hand me their children and leave, even if the child's freaking out, because they stop within a few minutes.
Right.
So that's just a good tip. I didn't know that. I'm like trying to make it better because I'm feeling bad for the caregiver, but actually they're like, please go.
Yeah. And a lot of places will text you photos of kids these days, or they'll have an app. There are like a lot of these kinds of softwares that are like secure, where they send photos of things, or you can get some kind of an email or communication from the administration to just let you know, like, this is literally how quickly they got comfy today, or here's a picture of them settled in doing a puzzle, whatever. But they've just got to be able to believe your words in this process. It's like one of the only things that they have. So if you say we're going, they need to go. If you say it's time for me to leave, I will come back at this time, you need to leave when you said that was going to happen. And you need to do your best to be the one who comes back afterward. Or if it's like actually it switches off and it's going to be dad today, you guys need to acknowledge at the end of the day, like, this morning I told you I was going to come back, but instead it was dad. I don't like to surprise you with that kind of stuff. Sorry about that. I didn't know it was going to be dad. I thought it was going to be me. Sorry. Well, I'm going to do my best to, just like acknowledging that a thing happened that was different, because like really being able to believe you is the thing that's going to help them just like regulate and have a little bit of an idea of like, this thing will happen, this thing will happen, this thing will happen. They need a few trustworthy things that they can hold on to throughout the day while they build a whole new life for themselves,
It's really good.
So I love what you're saying about asking teachers for help. I have that on here. Like, identify yourself as somebody to these professionals who's going to need some help, and what kind of help you're going to need. It's totally fine. Nobody expects you to know how to do this.
Okay.
And if they do, rude. Go ask a different adult. Like let them know, like, I have not done this before, or I've only done this in a different city, and it meant a lot to me that it was that person. And I know you guys are great. I picked you for a reason, but I'm super nervous about handing him to somebody that I don't, like, what do you guys like to do? How do you like it? This is how I like it. Or I heard this woman on a podcast say this thing. Could we do that?
Yeah.
Like, would that work for you guys? Like, get on the same page as these adults and let them know. Because particularly like a less experienced teacher is wanting to take cues from you out of respect for you being the adult. Like they don't want to be overstepping in the way that somebody like me or someone who's been doing this for a billion years, like you find those preschool teachers who've been doing this for 27 years and they're like, I gotcha, honey. They just like walk.
They pick you both up. They're like, I'll be taking care of this.
I've done almost as much holding of moms as holding of babies, I feel, in my life, and sometimes if there are two teachers in a classroom, if you can hand off to one and then the other one could meet you in the hallway, like there can be, ideally in these spaces, or other moms in the hall. Oh my gosh, the number of moms that I've seen just be like, is it your first day? Mine was so hard too. Like, this is so preschools, even more than like elementary schools, are some of the only spaces of like public village, like village full of strangers, people from all walks of life in the same space, needing the same thing, who don't know one another. It's really beautiful and powerful. It can be a really beautiful resource, but identify yourself as one of the ones who hasn't done it yet, doesn't know what to do, and get that help that you need, because there are people there who have really been doing this. Really been doing this.
Good. That's cool that you mentioned that village thing, because this could be like the first time in your life where you actually make parent friends just through your kids being friends with each other. And so you can even look for that and even get excited about that. If you've been feeling particularly lonely, this could be a really great moment in your life to start asking people for their numbers and saying like, would you guys want to have play dates? And it's sort of like you're actually trying to see like, are any of these parents your vibe? Could you be friends? And that's fun.
It's so fun. It's cool. It's so cool. A couple of little random crumbs that I've written at this bottom for you guys. After school, you may encounter several different kinds of reactions from your child. A lot of you will meet the happiest version of your kid you've ever met, because they went through that whole day. They freaking did it. They totally do love that teacher. They cannot believe that they were allowed to make a mess like you never let them do.
And a lot of times I'll speak to my kids. They ate better at school than they did at home, and they rested. Like my sister, she was telling me like, my son doesn't nap, blah, blah, blah. And then she sends him to like a preschool place and he naps. And so sometimes your kid just the peer pressure element or whatever that is.
Yeah.
They do stuff. Well, it's so cool.
I'll tell you, a lot of that is there's a level of clinical professionalism that they're encountering for the first time. You're not a professional mom.
Sure.
Even you who professionally make mom content are not a professional mom.
Sure.
We're professionals.
Yeah, right.
Right? They're in a place where things happen according to a schedule. There is no space for them to be in charge of the schedule. Yeah. And all of these other children are doing the thing. I feel totally confident. I love your children. I do not care about them like you care about them. There is no amount of connection to a child that I could ever have that would make me forget my own identity or like melt for them. Like they're just, it's always somebody else's kid as much as I love them. Like there's no enmeshment happening here. I'm like, I'm just looking at you from the outside.
Yeah, and you got to eat your food and take your nap.
You got to eat your food. I'm looking at you as a 3-year-old. I'm not looking at you as your whole life or as the baby that I held to my breast. Like, nope, you're just this kid in this person. And I'm just going to do what's good for you now. Yeah. Feeling very chill about it. Also, if you don't do what I want you to do, this is in no way a threat to me. I am not identified with whether or not you follow my instructions or if another parent sees you, are they going to think I'm bad? Like, nope. There's weird shit between teachers that you guys don't need to worry about. But like the level of professionalism, different. I have prepared a room that has 18 to 24 little cots in it. I've covered all the windows. I've put on soft music. I'm very good at reading books. You guys like to listen to me talk. You should hear me read a children's book.
Should do it.
It is the most soothing shit you've ever heard in your life. And there are 4 adults to all of these other, everything's dark. Everyone's laying down. There are adults walking around, petting your little forehead. There's nothing else for you to do. There's no mom out there. There are no other snacks. I fed you. I will feed you I fed you at lunch. I'll feed you when you wake up. That is when we will have snacks. Like that's it. Yeah. You know? So like the level of organization to that, it's much easier to just fall in line and or sort of relax into it. There's not as much to explore as with your mom. Everything's always changing with your mom. She goes with you forever and grows with you and stuff does change. Preschool is just preschool. Yeah. So it makes a ton of sense.
That's cool.
That they behave differently accordingly. And that certain caregiving elements are often a lot easier.
Yeah, I love that. So you guys get excited.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. They're also going to be hell of tired. Like at the end of the day, they're going to be very, very, very tired, especially at the beginning, especially if they're little, especially if it's all day. Right? The feeling of like alertness of being like, all this new scanning, all this new learning, even if they're stoked on it, whether they loved it all day, whether they cried all day, whether they stood right behind a teacher's leg, which they should not do because you can't see them because they're small. That's my one thing that I'm like, you guys,
don't be right there.
I'm so frustrated that I'm stepping on you. But really, don't stand right behind it. It's like one of the only things that I get immediately flustered by. I'm like, this is the only place I couldn't see you. Yes. You know, no matter how they handled that day, it was high stimulus. Yeah. And whether they are really sort of like rebelliously performing for these other adults, causing total chaos. There are little children in there who want to be the Joker to your Batman, to my Batman, that is to say.
Yeah, right.
That's my favorite. The Joker loves Batman. Batman loves the Joker. I don't know what to tell you. Or they just had the best day of their lives, like tired. They've been holding it together for other adults in the way that they don't hold it together for you. So they will be really tired. They might be really stoked. They might want to tell you everything. They might be really tired and want it to be quiet for the first time in the day. They might be really done with sounds. Oh my gosh. They also might have a phenomenal day, watch you walk down the stairs and begin to uncontrollably weep. That's like one of the very reasonable possibilities. As just a matter of tired, and here comes the totally safe thing that I can just unload in front of, like just it's sort melt of like down in front of.
It seems sometimes like they just remembered that you left them. Like they had such a fun day, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah,
that's so
where
funny.
did you go?" And so there is like the breakdown that happens sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
That's super normal. That's really funny that you say it that way because I've never read it that way. I've seen a lot of parents take it really personally. It never reads to me like it's a thing that they're doing at you.
No.
Though of course it would feel that way, on the other side.
Sure. Yeah.
To me, it's such a complete and total like a instantly melted candle of just being like
of safety.
Scoop me, you know. So don't be alarmed. It doesn't mean they had a bad day. It also doesn't mean they're mad at you. I take it as meaning nothing until you get some other data. Take them home, feed them some snacks. Yes, cool it down. A lot of the times they're running on a playground, and then they see you and suddenly realize they're sweaty. You know, like this is the person who cares for my body.
Totally.
I just always want to flag that as like really, really normal. Now, if you have a child who's like weeping every day at school continuously and telling you weird stories or punishing you a lot, like then there's some other talk to your teacher about that. Maybe there's some things we could shift.
Reach out to other
maybe
parents.
Their day needs to be a little shorter if you have the opportunity. Like, you know, there are some things, but wanting to hold as normal that like occasionally it's a very normal thing for your child to cry at you the second you get there, and then perk right back up like a little wilted flower who has a sip of water and a string cheese. Very
great.
normal. If they don't want to tell you things about school, that could be totally fine. Like a lot of the time they're feeling private. They don't remember. It already happened. They flushed it down the memory hole already, or even like they just don't have a ton of words to talk about that.
My kids, I noticed, and I've heard this from other friends, that sometimes the stories come up right before bedtime, which is so funny because that's when you're like, please go to sleep. But there is a sweetness to that. So you could also like as they're, I hit the microphone, as they're unwinding, like just be present, ready for the little, like actually without fail for all three of the kids. That'll be when they're like, today in class, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And you kind of get to hear a glimpse. And maybe it just took the quieting down of the day for them to remember something that they wanted to tell you.
My kind of last like little tippy tricky thing is going to depend a little bit on the policies of the care center. You're describing a place where outside objects do not come in, which I understand. I respect the choice as people who do not want to keep track of anybody's precious whatever. But transitional objects are a thing that children in early childhood really, really use when they're starting to sort of like incorporate a feeling of safety into their own body. Like to incorporate is to like take something into your body, right? Like incorp, like fully bring in, like there is that adult out there. I'm also going to have to be an entity. And sometimes they will sort of, in the transition from totally using you as that secure base, take a thing and like let that be sort of helpful as they learn how to have their own safety, their own sense of place, and I've got me. They'll take their own whatever this thing is and let that be the thing that's got me, and really, really want to have that. And if that's something that they can have at preschool, great. So like I had a little girl who she just really was off and on for a lot of being 2 at preschool, would go through periods where it was like totally cool to be at preschool. At the beginning, it was really tenuous and challenging. Her mom did a great job of like really trusting us, like really feeling like, no, I think this is going to be okay. And you guys are still okay that she's still crying, and being like, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. But she had a little mini mouse. She used to wear a little Minnie Mouse dress and then hold her little Minnie Mouse. And a big part of the sort of not so much a breakthrough, but like the loosening of this like tight little feeling on this little baby who just was like, oh, I hate it that this is not where my mom is. Was having her comfort Minnie, like her ability to tell Minnie that we're okay. It's going to be snack next. This is what we're going to do. Like that really lifted off some of really helped her be the one who could provide some safety and comfort, at least between the two of them, until she could give it to herself.
That makes sense.
And so if there is something that they're wanting to have or squeeze, or even inside of the classroom, a thing that either could be their special thing, or sometimes if it's available, let's go look for this thing and you can have this with you. For this beginning piece. Like sometimes externalizing that thing can be really helpful. And sometimes like I always ask for family photos and then I'll print them out and laminate them and staple them to the wall because I think that's just nice. We'll just go, it's just like a thing to go visit. Let's go visit your person then. And I always had 2 copies because I would do 2 copies of every single photo. So I had them in my desk, partially because sometimes they get torn and then that's the end of the absolute effing world. If someone tears, can you imagine?
Mom.
Yes, someone else tore your mom. It's really upsetting. So like I've got one on hand at all times because that's not your mom. It's just a picture. But also some kids want to carry it around, and I'm like, cool, carry it around. Like it's plastic. Get it as sticky as you want to get it. We'll just wipe it off. But you know, like if she's not here, but she is coming back. Here's the thing: she's real. I know about her. I, the adult, am aware of your mom, and I value your mom. Yes, and carry it around, buddy. That's like cool. Have it. Sometimes there can be a little bit of something like that. Again, something to really talk to the teacher, both like the teacher themselves and the administrator about like, how do you guys want to do this at school? How do you want to do this in your classroom? Like what works well for you guys? Okay, not those things. Is there something that we could use? I think it would be helpful for us to have a little tool.
Yeah, that's great.
I think that can help.
That's perfect. Yeah, I know. In the school that we send our kids to, they couldn't have stuffed animals, and we were sending 2 preschoolers to the same school, and they couldn't have them, but they could have sweatshirts. So then I looked on Amazon if there are any sweatshirts that zip into stuffed animals, because I was like, surely someone has thought of this. And they do. So Jules has a stuffed animal or a sweatshirt that zips into a sloth, and Wilson has a sweatshirt that zips into a panda. And they were allowed to bring that because it was not against the rule. Yeah. And so, they used it for their little snuggly for nap time, and then they wore them. Yeah. Yeah, it worked.
Wow. What a great hack. Yeah. I think that's really genius.
Thank you. I will say, if you're going to bring a favorite stuffed animal to school, we had a very devastating incident with my kids. Actually, it's happened now to multiple children of mine, where they lost their most favorite stuffed animal, and it really does make the world stop for a moment.
I have a friend who's a mom of 3 who was a preschool teacher with me. Like we started at the same, we were roommates, and then our classrooms were across the hall. So we would drive to school together and go into these very cute. She's a genius. She has 4 identical tiny bunny rabbits that her little daughter can play with at all times. And if one of them gets ruined, she orders a new one. Yeah. And she just has them on a You can have as many bunnies as you want. You want to take 3 bunnies? Great. You want to take only 1 bunny? Great. Which one do you want? Yeah. Pick from these identical. One of them gets lost. One of them gets thrown in a pond. One of them, the older brother, just whatever. Yeah. Like, fine.
You have enough. Yeah. Yeah. So
she doesn't like the new bunnies as much as the old bunnies. And that's
they
fair.
Never do.
Yeah. But it's exactly the same as the old bunny.
Yeah. So we lost one of Eloise's favorite little stuffed animals. It was like a Princess Aurora stuffed animal that one of my friends had gotten her. And then it got lost, and it was like real tragedy. And then they stopped making them. Everyone, it was so funny how invested people were, because it was like a group thing of all of us trying to figure it out. And then one of my friends found on eBay a bigger one. So like there were no more of the small ones that she had. So she orders us to our house in Spain a bigger one. And it arrived. And so at this point, Aurora had been lost for like a month or 2. But Eloise would talk about it every day. And then Aurora arrives in a box. I actually probably have a video of it. I should show you. It's so cute. And she's like, Aurora got bigger like me. She's like, she grew. And she's like carrying her around the house.
That's so nice.
Yeah. And then after that, we realized like no favorite stuffed animal should be rare and hard to find.
No, they should be very common. Pedestrian toys only.
Right. But Jules' stuffed animal and Wilson's both, they love these like kind of vintage older teddy bears, which are so adorable to carry around. Yeah. But there is no replacing them. If they are gone, that's the end. And
but also
bringing them to school
second
is
hard thing.
I know.
Is to just like really encounter some real tragedy. Because honestly, your 2-year-old thinks that is as real as your baby.
Oh yeah.
Like for them, like this is not there's not a distinction between humans and not human things that are important to me, except for my mom and my dad.
So maybe if you're going to bring a favorite thing to school, maybe you have a second, maybe you have the home favorite thing.
That'd be great.
And then maybe you have your like outside favorite thing or something just to protect you from losing it.
I think it would probably be a really good dynamic for them to have something that they go in and get. Go get your little Aurora out of your cubby so she can stay with you while I go.
Right. Oh, that's smart. I like that.
Tell her what happened last night.
Yeah.
She spent the night here. She wasn't there.
Tell her about bedtime.
Ask her what happened in the classroom when you weren't here.
That's cute. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, you guys are going to do great. Your kids are going to be great. Yeah. It's really, really, really cool for you guys adults, and for them to have an additional place to be where you get to go. You will see other human adults. You will speak to other human adults.
Your children will grow in their competence. They will be more social. You will get to see them kind of come to life in a way that they haven't moment when you're the only person with them. I've been happily surprised by all 3 of my children going to preschool and then coming back like more beautiful versions of who they are. It's going to be so worth all of the handoffs where you're just replaying everything Layne told you. It's really, really going to be worth it. And it's good for you to have some time away from your children. Yeah. It's important because then you'll miss them. And life is so much sweeter when you have time to miss them and then come back and be like, oh, you again. I like you so much. It helps. Yeah.
It's good.
Anyway. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Very Good Enough is a production of Very Good Mothers Club. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe and leave a little comment. And above all, text it to a friend.